right, me and my dog and my colorful assessment of rainbow toys are back with another Destiny 2 video. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about legend difficulty. There's kind of a few different legend difficulties. There's two. There's one that we've had for a long time, which is, I forget how many power above the normal cap it is, but like it's not one of the harder difficulties. I think it's the one below Master. Or is that Heroic? I think it's the one below Master. Not terribly hard. You can easily overlevel it most seasons if you're running it like for a Nightfall. But now we have a new Legend difficulty that seems to be part of Bungie's upcoming changes to how power level works in the game. This is a difficulty that is a set power level above no matter what you are. In this case, Legend difficulty for Operation Seraph Shield is +10. This is essentially the Witch Queen Legendary Campaign difficulty. This is supposed to be the same thing as that. And I just wanted to talk about a little bit how that feels and works in Operation Seraph Shield. And that I still think it needs a little bit of work if we are going to be moving more and more into this like +5, +10, +20, whatever power level system as opposed to things you can over level for. I have said repeatedly that the solo Witch Queen campaign is one of my favorite experiences in Destiny. I think they really, really nailed the balance of difficulty there. And I think they took all the same lessons from that here. There is no match game. There are no champions in Operation Seraph Shield on Legend. So you can just kind of run your loadout, whatever feels best for you, whatever feels best for the encounters without having to worry about element matching and which champions are going to show up and the mods. And like, you can just kind of do your build. However, a few things. For Operation Seraph Shield specifically, okay, first of all, this mission needs a checkpoint or multiple checkpoints. The way the mission is set up right now is it's very long. Like if you're soloing it, it's very long because you have to take all the roles of the operator and scanner. Like you have to play all the roles, and it just takes longer in general because you're solo. As a fire team on Legend, especially, it still takes a really long time because of the enemy tankiness, which I will get to. But the problem is with all Bungie's myriad of errors now, which can include literal error codes, or it can include the fun situation I found myself in, where at one point during a run, I kept respawning inside a bunch of laser beams that were auto-killing me every time I respawned, so I had to quit. There's no checkpoints. You have to start all the way over from the beginning if you are errored out or find yourself in a glitch like that. Not good. And this is not like a 10-minute strike. This is a 20, 30, 40-minute mission, depending on you and how your run's going and stuff like that. So you need some sort of checkpoint system within there. You don't need checkpoints just in missions like with encounters you can farm. Like you need checkpoints for other types of missions too. And I feel like the Witch Queen Legend campaign definitely had like a lot of checkpoints scattered throughout those missions, so that wasn't an issue there, where it is an issue here. The second thing is what I've realized over the course of the past 2 days. Like I know Legend was out last week, but there was no real reason to run it last week. But here you have to run it because you need to get one of the catalysts. In this case, it is weirdly, this may have been true of the Witch Queen campaign, but that was something I did solo on purpose rather than with the fire team. But the way Legend works is it does enemy scaling in a very bizarre way. Usually when we talk about enemy scaling, we're talking about things like GMs, where you're getting like 1 and 2 shot by enemies, and like it's these crazy, 50% damage burns and things like that. But that's not what I'm talking about here. What happens here with Fireteam scaling is that it dramatically increases enemy health almost to the point of absurdity if you're in a 2 or 3 man team. And it's at the point where I think that soloing Legend is probably going to be easier on the whole than running Legend with a fire team. The segment where you fight like a third of a boss's health bar and then you fight the Briggs, like I don't think I've ever seen a tankier enemy in the history of time than those Briggs on Legend with a full fire team. Like they are, I posted on Twitter, I use a full Chaos Reach, and like says that Chaos Reach is underpowered, but also these Briggs are just tanky. I swear to God, no more than a 16th to an 8th of a Briggs health bar with my entire Chaos Reach super. So obviously buff Chaos Reach, but like those things are tanky as all hell. And I got into a situation where another thing that happens with the fire team is you have limited revives and you have darkness fading. So if you're a 2-man and your second person dies twice, or if you're a 3-man and you're out of revives, you have a timer to finish the encounter, or else you auto wipe. And so that what happened to me is we ran out of res tokens. We had 3 people, and we ran out of res tokens, and one guy was dead, and we literally could not kill the Briggs fast enough because they were too tanky. There's one Brig left, and we died because of that. And then what happened is I lost a teammate. Someone quit, or they got errored out. I don't know what happened. This was just an LFG. And then in the boss room, if my partner died twice, I couldn't revive him. So we would just automatically lose. So you get 1 death each, essentially, in that situation. And then it's light fading and you lose because you're not going to single-handedly kill the boss in the time you get from light fading. I think it's really short. I thought it was like 30 seconds. But so like I was playing the encounter and the guy died within the first like 30 seconds one time. And I'm like, there's no point doing this. Like, I'm not going to risk this entire run on this, so I just wiped. We did beat it eventually, but, like, you know, you're really only managing yourself if you're soloing it on Legend. And, like, yes, if you die, you start over, but at least it's all on you, and you're not relying on, you know, whoops, my teammate died twice, and there's literally nothing I can do to salvage this run because we have a raid-like mechanic of wipe fading. It is like it's possible all of these problems are in the Witch Queen campaign also, because I never ran that with a fire team. Like, I don't know if the enemy tank like scaling got that level of tanky to that degree in the Witch Queen. I don't even know if there were wipe timers there, but like the point is like if this is going to become a standard level of difficulty, I think they got to tone down. I wouldn't call this the difficulty. I would just call it like this feels like a slog to have enemies that are like this tanky. Like it punishes you for having more people on your team to the point where you don't even want to run it with a fire team at all because it's just much more manageable solo. Like it's still hard solo certainly, but you're in a better position because the enemies aren't going to be as crazy tanky, and you are not, you know, risking one of your teammates who you have no control over dying and being unable to wipe. And like res tokens, like it's one thing when it's a GM or it's a raid, but like for this, it felt kind of weird to just get in situations where you were going to auto wipe, you know, some random encounter because your teammate couldn't be res. Like, I don't know. That just didn't feel, I guess, appropriate for this. And, you know, at least they're not sending you to orbit or something, but God, that'd be a nightmare. But I don't know if this is like the middle ground difficulty solution. Like I'm okay with like harder modifiers and like there are no crazy burns here. Like there is no, you know, there's no champions, no match game. So I guess they have to like try and come up with something, but this doesn't feel very good. I feel like a lot of this would be solved by just even like 10 to 15% less enemy health, something like that. Like, so I can, you know, headshot red bars again and they die as opposed to taking 2 or 3 shots, like something like that to make it feel like a bit less of a slog and more like I'd rather just prefer it solo. That said, I am fully on board with this idea of set power difficulty levels and getting rid of most of the power grind. I get that there's always this pushback of like, well, if there's no power grind, like what are you doing here? Like what is this all for anyway? And like, it just, I get that argument, and yet the most compelling content this game keeps coming up with to me is stuff that is the set power differential. Like, what's the best campaign? The Witch Queen Legendary campaign, in terms of difficulty, maybe not story for you, but like in terms of difficulty and how it feels to play, the Witch Queen Legendary campaign is the best campaign. I expect the Lightfall campaign, which will also be legendary, or have a legendary version, to also be good. What's the best seasonal activity in recent memory? Battleground Heist, because it has a +5 differential and it feels like actually somewhat mildly challenging to do that, as opposed to just cakewalking through a 6-man plunder catch crash. And yes, this does create some problems, like this makes things harder with blueberries, but on the whole, even doing all my heists with blueberries, I would say this has been a more enjoyable activity because of that +5 modifier. Still problems there with champions and things, and really restrict your loadouts because You need something that is both powerful and anti-champion, and like all of a sudden you're running like a Master Nightfall or something like the equivalent of that. And I don't know if that's the best, but I do think the +5, +10 power differential things are good. I can see how that would potentially be applied to Master/hard mode raids or dungeons in the future, as opposed to this current idea where to like the game is kind of just telling you like grind the living hell out of this in order to be able to do significant damage to these bosses and these encounters. Like that's the current solution for like master mode things, when if they would just dial back scaling your enemy health maybe a little bit for this like +10 whatever modifier, I think that would be enough, and make it, you know, more akin to challenge mode, as opposed to this like, well, here's the thing you're getting pinnacle drops for, here's the thing you're grinding artifact power for. Like, do not think the pinnacle chase is enjoyable, do not think artifact power grinding is enjoyable, and that adds very little to the game. You know, there are some situations where it does feel good to over level for content over the course of a season and make things farming a little easier. Sure, and like I don't really expect Destiny to 100% get rid of power level, but we are approaching a point where if they're even doing the basic seasonal playlist as +5 power, they are really, really leaning hard into this new concept. So overall, I think it's a good direction for the game, but Operation Seraph Shield on Legend especially makes me kind of, there's a few red flags where I'm like, okay, if they're going to go this direction, I think they got to do a little bit dialing back here. Like it's not too hard. That's not like the problem. I just think the tankiness just feels bad and is like not that enjoyable to have enemies that are that level of tanky. Like, and then the white mechanic, I guess we can debate that, but I don't find that particularly enjoyable either. I am okay for different ideas to make Legend harder in different ways, but I think those current two things might need to be changed a bit. So that's my thoughts. I assume we'll have to run this on Legend once a week for at least the next 3 weeks to get the other 3 catalysts. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to work, and then we'll be done. I've already done all the secrets and things, and you should really go get those 50 orbs and then cheat your way through the lasers with Shoulder Dash or Eager Edge or Blink or whatever. Very cool reward, which I wrote about today, and I do not think it should be spoiled. I spoiled it for myself because I'm a moron. That was only my fault, but it's still very cool. So anyway, this continues me liking the season quite a bit, and we can have a whole other debate about that as the weeks press on. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.